Greetings, my fellow game devs! Welcome to the channel and welcome to the ORK Framework 3 tutorial series for Unity. Regardless if you are a brand new developer just getting into Unity or an existing developer just looking for ways to expedite your product launch and ways to reduce the overall workload that you have to do, I personally think that this would be a great product for you. But in the meantime, let's jump over to the video and we'll get started with all of the tutorials and the how-tos. And hey folks, before we get started, I just want to let you know that in the comments below there will be links to the tutorial that we're going over as well as any downloads that are used in the video. So we'll jump over to it and we'll get started.
Alrighty folks, welcome back to another ORK Framework 3 2D RPG tutorial using Unity 6. We are going to pick up right where we left off. So, today we are going to do this is going to be a little bit of a longer one, a little bit more in-depth. We're going to set up some UI boxes. This is all part of the UI system tutorial that we started with the last video. The UI boxes are used by ORK to display menus, dialogues, and other notifications, but not for HUDs, except a console HUD. They are, in short, a container to display content. We're going to set up all the UI boxes we need for this tutorial series in one go, and since most of them will look the same, we mainly just need to adjust the positions and sizes. So let's go ahead and create some UI box prefabs setups back in our scene. So again, we want to make sure that there's nothing on here except for the canvas. So if you've got any prefabs in here, delete them out. So we're going to right click, Mackin them, UI box, and from here we are going to create the UI box. Now there's different variables out here that you can use. So we are going to use the scroll vertical with title. And so you can see what this looks like. We'll zoom in on it. That's what it's going to look like here. Now if you want some more information on it, I will put a link down in the texts or in the description on this to go over a tutorial focusing on the UI box prefab setups. Okay, so we're going to create the buttons here. So what we're going to do is we're going to call this box blue center. Now when we look at this, if we open it all the way up, you can see we've got a scroll view, we've got the viewport, we've got the content, and we've got the text. We've got the scroll bar to the side, the sliding area and the handle, and the title content, image, and text. We're going to go ahead and just use the default sprites that come with the tutorial asset. If you are using your own asset, one thing that I did find working on this in a previous project of mine, some of the sprite assets that you get are not going to fit properly. They are going to expand these boxes way out. So you will have to play with the sizing. Unfortunately, that's not something that I can help with. It's going to be a lot of trial and error, like mostly error. But for this, it'll be pretty easy. So let's start with the first few changes we're going to make here. Let's change the background image of the UI box. So we're going to go to the title content and we're going to get it all set up. So boop, 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 title content. Here we go. And we're going to go to image and we're going to change this to box blue. There we go. And let's make an adjustment to the alpha here. Let's go ahead and just make sure that's 255. Set that all up. The text, I'm kind of adamant that it's middle center always. The rect transform, we're going to select the UI box game object again, right here. And we're going to set this to 400 width and 400 height. The scroll bar, this is kind of optional. We really don't need to mess around with this, but we're going to anyways. So we're going to go to the scroll bar vertical, and we are going to set the position on the X to the -5, and the top to 5, the width to 10, and the bottom to 5. We're going to do some content padding as well. So we're going to close that down. And the content padding is going to go under the UI box, scroll view, content child. And you can see we've got the vertical layout group here, so let's do a padding. Let's set all of this to 10. Left, right, top, bottom, and spacing. And then we're going to do that again for the title box. So we're going to go to the UI box, and then we're going to go to the title content. And we're going to set it again. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. The one thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the top and we're going to double check everything to make sure that this looks how we want it to look. So let's start at the top. So we changed the image component attached to the title, but we didn't change it for the scroll view. So let's go to the viewport, image, box blue, content, scroll view, make sure everything looks good, box center, UI box. Here we go. Now you can see this is still kind of grayed out, right? So let's go ahead and set that to box blue as well. Now you'll see that one thing that changed is the content here, and we'll set this to 400. You'll notice that this changed to 40. We don't want that. We want 400. And we'll go through and double check everything and make sure it looks like it's supposed to. And you can play with a lot of different things in here. UI sprite is fine. Scroll bar vertical, that looks good. And I tell you what, let's set the viewport to be background. There we go. Title is set right. The image is set to none. We're okay with that. So now this is what our our box looks like. So let's go back into our prefabs, go back into UI, and we'll create a folder, and we'll call this one boxes. And we can just click all of that and shrink it back down. And we'll drag this one in here. So now let's make a battle menu. So let's click on the blue center that we've got here, and let's change a few things. We're gonna make a copy of this. So let's just do this. Let's go ahead down here, right click, right, and we can, it's all right. We'll just do this a little differently. So we're gonna rename this, and we're gonna call this one battle menu. And you can right click, prefab, unpack, and you can see nothing is in there. So now there's no risk of making a change to blue center. So let's go ahead and adjust the rect transforms. So it's up here. So let's set the anchor to this to the bottom left. And we're going to set the position on the X to 0, the Y to 0, the pivot on the X and the Y to 0. And we want the width to be 400 and the height to be 300. So now if we look at what this looks like, it's in the bottom left-hand corner. So let's go ahead and drag that in. There we go. And let's make another copy of the blue center because it's got all of our base on here. Right click, prefab, unpack. Now let's make and let's call this one 2 menu small. So let's change the position on the X to minus 600 and 200 on the Y. And we'll make a prefab of that. We'll get it out of here. Another blue center, right click, prefab, unpack. Let's call this one menu info. Let's set this one to 600 on the X and minus 200 on the Y. And we'll make another one of it. Delete that out. Blue center again. Now we'll do the menu big. So let's right click, prefab, unpack, call it menu big. And let's set the width and the height to 800. And we'll create a prefab of that. Delete that out. Now let's make a dialog box. So the dialog is going to be a little bit different, as we'll change, as you know, we're also going to change the background image to a beige box, and we'll change the font color. Now we still base it on the first box we created, that blue center prefab, and we're going to go ahead and make the changes now. So blue center, whoops, make sure it's under your canvas, right click, prefab, unpack. We're going to call this one dialog. And we can set this back to 0, 0. That works. So what we need here, always check your scaling. So we're going to go back and double check all of that here in just a minute, because I just noticed that the scale jumped up and changed here, which we don't want. Probably because it was set outside of the canvas at first, but easy fixes. All right, so we want our anchor to be at the bottom. We want the pivot to be 0.5 on the X, 0 on the Y, position X 0, position Y 100. We want the width to be 600 and the height to be 200. So what we're going to do now is, just like we did when we set this up, we're going to change the image components on the root UI box and the title content. So let's click on this, hit Alt and right. So let's go ahead and click on here and let's type in box again. And we're going to do beige. And we're going to go to the title content. We're going to type in box again. Whoops. And we're going to do beige. So now that that's set, let's go ahead and adjust the text, because as you can see, that white's a little bit hard to see. So we're going to adjust the main content and the title content. So text, and this is under the scroll view, the main content. We're going to set this to a full alpha black. There we go. And the title, we're also going to set to a full alpha black. So now, that's what our box would look like for dialog. So let's shrink that down. There we go. Now, for the last box that we're going to create, we're going to make this one from scratch. We're going to create an action info box. So we're going to go click on canvas. We're going to go to Mackinac, UI box, and then we're going to go to UI box fit size. Now we don't need title with this one. That's okay. So under the UI box, some changes that we're going to make is we're going to change the source image under the parent, the root file. So we're going to go with the box beige. We're going to adjust the vertical layout group. So just shrink these down a little bit so you can see it. And we're going to change the padding. So we're going to do 20 on the left, the right, the top, and the bottom is going to be 15. This is just, based on the sizings that was tested out. We're going to minimize that down, and you can see that we have a content size fitter component. So let's go ahead and click on that. and change both horizontal and vertical to preferred size. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and expand this out, and we're going to click on the text. Now in the text, we need to make sure to change this to a black full alpha text, and we're going to rename it Action Info, and we're going to make a prefab of that. So now let's go ahead and get these boxes set up so ORK can use them. So we'll jump into the Machinum tab. We're going to go back under UI, and we're going to go to UI boxes. Now, these settings handle which input keys are used to control the UI. For example, accepting or canceling, selecting a button, etc. Now we can already keep most of the settings, but we will set up our input selections to loop, going down from the last selected input returned to the first. So on the input settings, now this is under the default controls. General, so it's general UI boxes, general settings, and then we're going to go down to the default controls. Sorry, wrong one. You can see accept, cancel, vertical menu, horizontal menu, next page is none, previous page is none. Use scroll access. These are all different settings that you can set up. But what we are looking for is under the input settings, loop. And then we need to go to the default audio. Now, we already have a lot of these clips put together. So, cursor move, we're going to do menu 2. Okay, sorry about that. A little bit of technical difficulties there. So back to where we were. We're going to use the audio files that came with the tutorials. If you have your own, feel free to put them in. So as we've already done now, we've got the menu 2 set for the cursor move. Let's go ahead and set up the accept, cancel, and fail. So we're going to do menu 5. Maybe, there we go. Menu 5. We're going to do the menu 4. And we're going to do the menu 6. And then for the input change, we're going to do menu 1. There we go. For the change, it's also menu 1. The tab change and the page change will also be menu 1. Okay, so we have that set up. Now let's go ahead and take care of our default inactive colors. Now, inactive colors are used to tint unfocused boxes, UI boxes, making them darker or semi-transparent. Only one UI box has the active focus and can be controlled at a time. These settings help make clear which one is being controlled by the player. So if we go through and we look at all of these, let's just go to all settings again. Let's collapse them all up. And let's go down to default inactive colors. Here we go. So we want to enable the set color, and we want the color to be gray, and we want it to have full alpha. So that's how we want it. Now, let's set up our default schematics. So we'll open that up here. So before open schematic, we're going to use the UI fade in, and we're going to enable wait. And before close schematic, UI fade out, and we're going to enable wait. Now we're going to go to the UI boxes again, and we're going to set these boxes up, and we're going to use the prefabs. So we're going to start with the default, and we're going to change this one, and we're going to call it blue center, and it's going to be on layer 1. Now the prefab we want to use is that blue center box that we created. And since we're using the Unity UI model, this is why we're able to do that. Now we're going to go ahead and we're really just going to copy these and make the changes as we need. So we're going to go with this first copy. We're going to call it the battle menu. And we need to set the battle menu as the prefab. We'll copy it again and we'll call it menu small. And we'll set the menu small. We're going to copy it again and we'll call it menu info. And we'll use the menu info box. We'll copy it again. We'll call it dialog. We use the dialog box. Copy again. Action info. And the action info box. And we're going to go ahead and save our changes. And that's it. So we now have the UI boxes set up and we are good to go. So in the next video, we're going to set up flying texts, make sure all that is working properly. If you have not done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. If you have any comments or questions about this video, please feel free to reach out to me. All my social links are going to be down in the description below. You can reach me in Discord. That's actually one of the easier ones to reach out to me on. I check it throughout the week. But yeah, until next time, guys and gals, have a great time working on your game and happy coding.
Thanks for checking out this video for the ORK Framework tutorial series. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to throw a question down in that comment box, or you can hop into any of the live streams and catch me live and ask me live while I'm there. If this video did help you out in any way, shape, fashion, or form, make sure to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. That being said, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Good luck on all of your future projects. And until next time, happy developing.